because EXP has the main, like all of the massive producers are at EXP. Our leadership, I know our leadership team, really well, and these guys are not messing around. Like Glenn
Right.
isn't messing around anymore. I mean, he's bringing in, Michael and Leo and the teams that they're building, and the amount of work those guys are willing to do at the ground floor in the dirt with agents makes me really, really excited for the future of EXP.
Hey there, future real estate legends. This is Jason P. Jordan, your go-to global real estate coach and the president and CEO of the Legends International team, brokered by eXp Realty. I just wanted to thank you for being here and welcome you to another episode of the LiT Real Estate Show, where we interview our equity partners at eXp Realty in the USA and from all around the globe. Now I just ask you to please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button and hitting that bell icon so you never miss another LiT show or any other future videos that I have and launch here on this channel. It also helps the show grow so we can get even more successful eXp Realty agents on to help you. Now, at the same time, if you're a subscriber, you'll get access to new shows before anyone in the world does. If you would, subscribe right now. Thanks so much. So let me introduce our guest speaker today, Lars Hedenborg, who is from the Charlotte, North Carolina area in the United States. Lars is the broker owner of the Lars Group in Charlotte, North Carolina, host of the Real Estate Team Builders podcast with nearly 620 episodes. Also the founder of the Real Estate B School, which provides training and coaching for top producing real estate agents and team leaders. He's also the best-selling author of Scale or Die, Achieve True Freedom in Your Real Estate Business and Live Your Life Without Regrets. Starting his real estate career in March of 2007, Lars quickly rose to prominence, achieving Hall of Fame status with REMAX by earning over $4 million in gross commissions in just 6 years. His accolades include recognition in the 2014 Real Trend America's Top Real Estate Agents, being a top 5 REMAX agent in North Carolina for 2008 and 2009, receiving the 5-Star Real Estate Agent Award for customer satisfaction. His team has consistently ranked among the top 20 real estate teams in the country, with a combined production of 440 transactions at $120 million in volume in 2015 alone. Despite his early success, Lars experienced a strain of long hours and limited family time, motivating him to transform his approach. In 2012, he shifted his focus from top producer to team leader and business coach, launching a coaching company in 2013 to help agents scale their business without sacrificing their lives. After years of observing eXp Realty's growth and inspired by his colleague John Mickus, Lars joined eXp in September of 2020. Since then, he's dedicated his efforts to growth and attraction for eXp, reigniting his passion for real estate. With an engineering degree from Stevens Institute of Technology and an MBA from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, Lars' corporate background includes roles in engineering, project management, corporate finance analysis, and acquisitions and strategic planning. To date, he and his team have served over 4,000 families, achieving over $1 billion in sales volume. Lars now focuses on helping others realize the massive opportunities in real estate, drawing inspiration from his family, his wife Julie, and their 2 children, Anders and Kendall. Also, I want to say I absolutely love how he's a faith-based leader and coach, and I love his Proverbs 27:17 here, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Lars, my friend, it is so awesome to have you finally here on our Legends International team call. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing awesome. And I'll probably get into it maybe in the training piece, but when you think about that scripture, and you just think the process of iron sharpening iron, there's nothing like easy about that process. There's nothing, like it's not a very simple process, so as you guys look to grow in anything, whether it's business or relationships or your physical body, none of it's going to be easy. Like that's the sort of the thing that it's tough to get around. You just have to really just cast a meaningful vision for yourself, and then lay the bricks and just do the work. So, and there's nothing special about what I did. I sold a ton of homes, and I've achieved at a high level in a lot of things, but none of it was pretty, none of it was easy. So
I think that what you just said there is you got to do the work, right? So at the end of the day, you can dream, you can set all these goals, but if you just don't get out there and do the X's and O's and do the work, right? It's not, those things are never going to come to fruition. So let's get in the DeLorean and go back in time, right? And take us to the period of where you were not in real estate, and what made you decide to get into this crazy fast moving business.
yeah, so for me, it was for a lot of personal sort of jacked up childhood sort of reasons. I had a drive in me to provide at a high level financially, but also to be a good dad and a good husband, just based on a not so great model that I had as a child with my dad, and divorce and alcoholism and a bunch of stuff. And so when I got married in 2006, I was leaving my corporate job. I had sort of invested in some real estate in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was traveling quite a bit with my corporate job. So I did acquisitions and strategy for an aerospace company. And it was good. It was, as it was the ideal corporate job. I actually had identified this exact job, coming out of college, out of engineering school, and then going to business school. This was kind of my perfect career, traveling the world and buying other companies for a company headquartered in New Jersey, and then I got transferred to Charlotte through that same company. But then realized that there's not, the guy that recruited me from New Jersey to come to Charlotte, he was with the company for 33 years, and he had just announced his retirement, just bought his retirement home at the beach, which is about 3-4 hours from Charlotte, and then was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And
Wow.
less than 6 months, I think 4 months later, he was no longer with us.
Wow.
And so that was kind of the moment for me where like, there's no way. Leave aside the fact that these guys are just, all they have is years in the company. They're no smarter than me. They're no, whatever. They just lasted long in a corporate job. And it's a public company, so you can just look up what they make. And I'm like, it is not worth it for me to, at that time I was probably 6-7 years with the company. I'm like, there's no way I can do another 25 years at this company for the hopes of getting to his position, which is one of 3 division leaders where you make decent money. But there's no way I can put up with the politics and all of that stuff. So I was already investing in real estate, got my license, and March 5th, 2007, just left my cozy corporate job and decided to go all in on real estate. And that's kind of how I made the decision. But the backdrop was that in a corporate setting like that, and I was positioned really well to do the corporate ladder climbing, I would have had to, probably relocate, I don't know, every other year, to do the sort of the grind of corporate ladder climbing. So just decided that I wanted to make my own way and figure out, how to make a lot of money, but not be away from my wife, away from my, we were just getting kids going and all of that. And so just a deep-seated, I knew I was going to figure it out. And provide a life for my family that, none of us really thought was possible. And it wasn't that to start, so what I have now, it's easy to look at what I have now and be like, oh, that's great. But back then it was super hard, and everyone thought I was an idiot for leaving a corporate job with benefits and fast track, to success and all of that. But I just knew that there was so much commission available in these deals that it can't be that hard. I didn't know that so few agents sell a lot of real estate. Like, I didn't know what the dynamics were within the industry when I got in. But I got in, I got a coach my first month, hired an assistant, so I can tell kind of the real estate journey, but that's kind of the backdrop of it all.
So you got in. Did you start immediately with REMAX? Is that who you partnered with right from the get-go?
No, I actually, when I was buying homes locally. I forget how I even met the broker I was using as my agent to buy these homes as an investor. But I put my license with his firm. It's a really small firm for like my first 9 or 10 months. And, he had like 20 agents and I was his top producer. In my first 10 months, I sold more than any other agent the whole year. And some of them had been in real estate for 10 years. Because I just figured out lead gen and lead conversion. And I was just willing to do, honestly, the things that still most agents aren't willing to do, is just talk to people consistently and not let a day go by where you're not going to have a minimum amount of conversations, two-way conversation with a decision-making adult about real estate. It is still the only way. Even if you figure out some AI lead gen tech snazzy sort of front end lead gen, you still have to pick up the phone or text somebody and get on a conversation and meet them physically in person or over a Zoom consultation. But I was just willing to do that and just focus most of my time on that and just ignore the mindset around really ignoring the fact that servicing a client isn't really where the money is made. It's getting the client where generating the lead and getting the client to sit down with you and sign them to be a client. That's like the whole business. Everything else is not being a successful real estate agent, so like showing homes or all the things that everyone thinks is real estate, I just didn't think was real estate or business. I was focused more on like, okay, how can I get more clients to come in the door? And then I can figure out how to service them later, almost as an afterthought.
So I think that is absolutely crucial, right? The nuts and bolts of being an agent, right? And it does, everything comes down to conversations. I mean, if we talk about agent attraction, it comes down to conversations, right? Every single business comes down to conversations, right? And if you're not in conversations with people, you're not going to move your business forward, no matter what business that it is. So then you moved from that brokerage over to REMAX, right? And then you leverage that brand, that platform to grow and have immense success. I mean, most agents in the business in their career are never going to accomplish what you have done in that small period that you did there. And was it your engineering mind that helped you set up the systems and processes to help those agents have those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think I was blessed with a couple things. Definitely that like systems mindset, not that I had done any of that before I got into real estate, but just realizing that I wanted to build a system and a business. And then also just an unnatural, sometimes unhealthy drive based on like just a lot of fear of not being my dad. And, so just having it sound like I wouldn't want to put my kids through what I went through and I'll get emotional, or what my wife went through when we were both young, but it's what made us so freaking successful. And now my kids have this cush lifestyle where I don't know what they're going to do when they grow up to make money, because they're not going to have that. They do have an internal drive that makes me not so fearful for them growing up, but I just had this fire that that was driving me. And so I got into real estate in March 2007, quickly realized that 80% of what I was doing was like, I can't believe I'm putting up a sign. I can't believe I'm hanging a lockbox. I can't believe, because I have this corporate background where, not that I wasn't a high level executive, but I wasn't booking my own travel. We had like a shared assistant. I wasn't,
right.
We had everything, everyone had a position, and the guys that were making strategic decisions and weren't working as hard as I was were making like 10 times more money than me. So I just had this understanding that, that there's a lot of things, probably 12 different things you need to do as a real estate agent, from like marketing and graphic design and all the admin and showing homes and running errands, business errands, and, presenting, getting listings and getting buyers and all that. Only a few of them actually made the kind of money that I wanted to make. And the kind of money that I wanted to make was, I wanted to make $500,000 take home was my goal, but I only wanted to work 40 hours a week. So I didn't know that that was going to be hard to do. But when I made that decision, and you take $500,000 and you divide it by a 40-hour work week is 2,000 hours a year, it's $250 per hour. So, and the book I read at the time, there were two books, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. It's still like our foundational reading for B school. And then I don't recommend this book, but I learned this concept from Dan Kennedy. He has a book called Time Management for Entrepreneurs, I think what it's called. There's like a third edition of it now. And that's where I got the concept of like just the reality of what you're making per hour, and then the aspiration of what you want to make per hour. And the only difference between the two is the decisions you make with your time and the systems you build to backfill the things that either you're not good at or you don't love doing, and then once you decide, like that decision that I wanted to make $250 per hour, my first 10 months in real estate, I sold 27 homes, but I wasted a lot of money and I worked a lot of hours, and I netted about $20 per hour US. So not great. I wasted so much money on just like, all the hopium, thinking that just spending money on lead sources would, turn into deals and
shiny objects.
Yeah. But it was that year that I decided that I was going to go from $18 per hour US to $250 per hour. It took me about 3 years to get there. Then took me a year to go to 500, a year to go to 1,000, a year to go to 2,000, then a year to go to $3,300 per hour. So once you like crack the code on leverage and systems and a business mindset, and it's not that I didn't do the low dollar work. Like I sold 100,000. Like our average price point really back then was like, let's say about 250 to 300,000 US. I sold a $100,000 home to a first-time buyer an hour and a half away from my house.
Wow.
Okay. And it took them 3 homes to get under contract. So because all these homes are like pieces of crap and they're like deferred maintenance, but as I was doing that, I had already made the decision around the $250 per hour. So my mindset was like, I can't believe I'm taking time away from my family on a freaking Sunday afternoon to drive to Lincolnton, North Carolina. But I'm like, okay, if I'm not doing this in the future, like what would a showing agent, how would they prepare for this? Like, how did I prepare the packets? Did I put water in my car? Did I have like toys for kids? Like whatever crap we do as agents, I knew that I wasn't going to do those things forever because I couldn't make $250 an hour selling a $100,000 home an hour and a half away from my house and going under contract 3 times. There's no money in it.
Right. You needed to have the leverage, right?
Yeah. And there's only 20% of the things agents do make them like crazy money. And they're typically the things that agents don't like to do. No agent, if you could lead generate 8 hours a day and not have to worry about anything else in your business, you would be swimming in money.
I like that idea, swimming in money.
Yeah, you'd get so good at lead generation, like you'd get so good at it so quick, but most agents don't put in an hour a day of like true lead generation, let alone 2-3, hours. And if you don't have any business and you have nothing to do, you need to put in 8-hour lead gen days, and not think it's hard work and, just get some perspective on, what it's going to take to really move your skills forward and get all the reps in, get it all out of the way of the things you suck at, with a mindset toward you're not going to have to do them forever.
I think based upon what you just said there, it reminds me of a quote or a saying that I remember is that, professional athletes spend 20,000 hours, right, to become a pro. And so what you just said there was right on with that, like doing the reps. Right. So if you don't do the reps, you don't develop the skills to be able to become the professional you want to become. Right. And so that reminds me of like my swimming career. Right. I had to go in and do the work every single day, sometimes 3 practices a day to get to the level that I wanted to be at as an athlete, right? And this business is no different. So you then put in systems and processes, and then you built a team around that to start to scale. And then you made a move from REMAX then to Keller Williams, and then you had you went independent for like a year, right? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this whole thing with eXp Realty, because I remember when Dave Kennard interviewed you after finally making the decision to come. So what was it that you just kept saying no? I mean, what was it, 6 times, Lars, that you said no to eXp Realty?
Well, I mean, in my head, I said no to it a lot more than 6 times. You know,
okay.
Surprisingly, only one person truly reached out to me and like actually asked to present the model to me. I shut him down so hard, I almost ruined our legit friendship over it. But only one person actually, you know, asked me to. I know AJ very well, AJ Maida, who's, you know, 2 levels above my so my sponsor, John Mikish, I coached him in B school. AJ Maida is his sponsor, I coached him. I knew AJ went over, and I was one of the first people that he told, because I was coaching him at the time, and I very dismissive of it. And there was a point, one of my coaches, so the guy Cliff Freeman who brought AJ in was a paid business coach of Real Estate B School. When he brought AJ, one of my paying clients, into eXp, and so it was probably, I mean, it was for sure lack of humility. It was for sure 100% ego. And like this thought or belief around multi-level marketing. You know, I'll tell a quick story. And on the rev share side, I mean, there are people with this belief I'm going to share that it is the thing that's stopping them from looking at eXp. So for me, we had, I remember my son Anders he was probably 1 year old. We had friends of my wife, Julie, visit us, you know, connect with Julie, hasn't talked to her in a long time. So they come and we have dinner at our house, and, you know, I'm introverted. I can care less if I'm meeting new people, but these were like good people. They were business people, and, you know, it was a great night. So it's witching hour. If you have kids, you know that if they're young, it's like that time where they're a little bit past bedtime. They're like super cranky. It's like, okay, like, you people need to leave my home now because I have to put this kid to bed, and like, okay, this is done. At that time, the husband of the people that are visiting pulls out a CD and takes a bottle of, I don't know if you guys remember the acai berry juice, Mona V, back in the day. It was kind of like it was like the first mainstream. It felt to me like the first MLM, multi-level marketing opportunity, that I learned about. And I was like, what the F are we doing right now? So before I even taste the juice, this guy is asking me to do the business opportunity. My son is melting down, and I'm like, get the F out of my house. He gives me 2 tickets. Like, it was just so, and that like planted some, and there's probably more to it. Like, I have this belief that it's like, it's hard work to make money. You know, there's, you know, you gotta grind, you gotta do the work, you know, all of that stuff. I even have like a thing over there, like a neon sign that says do the work, which, you know, 99% of the time, 100% of the time is true. But so when this person reached out to me, I was just like, I shot it down based 100% on the MLM aspect of it. It was just like, this can't be true. And the language he used was like, you know, this thing is ground floor, you're gonna miss an opportunity. He was 100% right. You know, it was like 2,700 agents when he reached out to me. And this is a guy that I had been to the Bahamas with our families. We went to New York on a weekend trip together. So someone that I know, we share the same faith, really amazing person. I couldn't even hear him talk about it. So like, just think of,
was this AJ Maida that you're talking about now? Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was another guy that I had coached.
Okay.
And AJ never really formally actually sat me down, and he let me know he went to EXP, but he wasn't like, you should really look at it, dude. You know, if somebody really did that, I don't even know, but John called me on a Saturday, September 5th, 2020. And after maybe 100 times saying no to it mentally, I was licensed at EXP 6 days later, and I had to break up with my business partner and my real estate team at the time. So he calls me on a Saturday, sends me all these random stupid videos. None of them like seem to have any rhyme or reason. But then I had the two nights of EXP insomnia. I broke up with my business partner on Tuesday. I let him know that I'm moving over, and I was licensed on Friday. You know,
Wow.
and so, and that was
John.
not an easy call. Yeah, and that was not an easy call for John to make.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't, but he does a really good job of breaking down the model. I mean, his video where he breaks down RevShare 2.0.
Yeah, but at that time, he wasn't even licensed with EXP. Like he hadn't even, so he wasn't the John of today that is like, I mean, he has a great personality and he's just like straightforward and a straight shooter. Right. And I know his heart because I coached him for 3 years. But at that point, he knew only a little bit more than I knew. You know, so it was like the blind leading the blind at that point.
And you still joined, which is freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, and the thing that I realized, and when you get into a conversation with another agent about, put EXP aside and just say, hey, listen, at this point in your journey in real estate, do you have the kind of residual income that you want coming in? And even John didn't frame it that way, but that's how I framed it in my mind, that it took me, you know, so I'm 51. So let's say I was 47 and I started working. So it took me from 21 to 47, 26 years. It took me 26 years to amass about $2.5 million, like a pile of cash. None of it was really positioned in like residual stuff. Like it was just like my liquid net worth, you know, was over $2 million. But then when I started running the numbers on like what it would take inside EXP to create a net worth equivalent of 2.4 million. So let's say you have 2.4 million in the bank earning 5% interest, that would throw off 10,000 a month, 120,000 a year. When I started seeing the numbers of what these, because I studied all the bigger, like if I was going to do this, I was going to go to 1,000+ agents. So I studied, you know, I got Cliff's numbers, AJ's numbers, Jay Kinder's numbers, and I just studied their path to 1,000. And I'm like, man, you can make like 40, 50 grand a month. That's like a $10 million net worth equivalent. If you have $10 million of cash in the bank, and whatever you do with it to turn it into residual income, if you buy rental real estate or if you buy conservative like T-bills or whatever, that's going to turn into about $500,000 a year, right? Yeah, $500,000 a year, having 10 million at 5%. That's about 40,000 a month. And I saw these guys do that in 12 to 18 months, you know, inside of EXP. And just understanding that dynamic, you can always put EXP to the side and say, hey, listen, what's your plan to get to $20,000 a month residual? You know, I know guys that own 50 rental properties and don't make 20 grand a month. They make like 10 grand a month. And they have all the you know,
the headaches with that.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the real thing that flipped the switch for me. And, you know, now it's ridiculous. And maybe not everyone would have the breadth of a network that I did because I had the coaching company and the relationships.
Exactly.
My opportunity is different, albeit it was hard to build the coaching company, so it wasn't necessarily easy. But there's too many examples at this point of people that didn't have what I had coming in that have turned it into a $10,000 a month opportunity. You know, which is substantial. That's like having, you know, $2.4 million in the bank is 10,000 a month. And you can get there. I believe anyone can get there in 3 years inside this model or less.
I mean, if that doesn't get everybody excited. You know, I don't know what will, but I mean, so Lars, just so everybody has an idea, you know, of course, I think you just couched that very well, saying that, you know, not everybody's going to have the network that I have because of my coaching business and the real estate B school. But what does your organization look like today?
Man, I have been struggling to get to 2000, but it's right under 2000 agents. You know, I
I
don't know
love
what
when everybody
happened.
says that when they're over 1,000 and they're like, I'm struggling.
Well, in my mind, I told AJ and John, I'm like, I will not believe this is real until I get to 2000. And of course, as God would probably have it, he's like stalling me right, you know, at 2000. Um, but yeah,
He's
so it took
testing
me,
you,
you know,
right? Yep.
yeah, it took me about a year to get to 500, you know, and then probably another year to get to 1000, and then, you know, a couple years. So I'll be 4 years in EXP in September. So yeah, and at this point, it's, you know, it's even a smaller version. Like I show people my first 6 months, you know, my first 6 months, it took me 6 months to get 25 agents to come in. And AJ told me, he showed me his numbers. His plan was I bring 25 agents in, and that's over time, that's going to turn into 300 to 500 agents. And so in my first 6 months, I brought in 25 agents. I had like 222 agents at that time. So the 25 grew into 222. And then I think it was actually my 10th month, I hit over 500, but I only added like 5 or 6 more agents. Like my actual work was lowering at that point, and I was just helping others bring other people in. So, but there's nothing more leverage that you could ever possibly do. At least maybe you can't pivot as hard as I did, you know, because I had a coaching company that was making me money, and I was able to pivot my focus. But at least as a side hustle, like this is like, you definitely don't want to ignore this opportunity. So even, you know, you'll have your production daily minimum requirements, and then you should have your agent attraction minimum requirements. Like every day, no matter what, I'm going to have 20 conversations with decision-making adults about real estate. And every day, Monday through Friday, no matter what, I'm going to have at least, pick a number, 2, 3, 4, 5 meaningful conversations with other agents, you know, and then you can't fool yourself.
Exactly.
You know, otherwise we just trick ourselves to thinking we're doing, you know, like if you don't have a commitment on where I'm working out, and, you know, at the end of the week, you're like, oh yeah, I worked out, you know, I worked out this week, and you got one workout in. That's not like making a commitment to, I'm going to move my body 30 minutes every day, 7 days a week, no matter what. Even if it's an off day and I just go for a walk for 30 minutes, you know, it's just different. And I do better with that. Like, okay, every day I'm going to do these things, and then you do them or don't do them, but you can't lie. Don't lie to yourself about it.
So, you know, I want to round out this segment here so we can get on with the training here in just a little bit. But I would like you to, you know, now that you've been at EXP for 4 years, I remember when we met for the first time, it was at EXPCon 2021, right? And I think I turned around, I was in some line to get a drink, and I turned around and you were behind me, and it just sparked the conversation. And I talked to you about how we were growing internationally, and you were like, wow, this is really interesting, right? And it's just the collaboration part of this entire company is what is really cool to me. And that's what gets exciting, is that even though we're not in the same revenue share organization or anything like that, we're equity partners, and everybody wants to collaborate to grow, right? And that is what excites me, you know. But now with some, you know, runway behind you now, look into the future. And from your opinion, what do you kind of see as the future of EXP Realty?
Yeah, I mean, I knew you were going to ask this question. I was talking to a guy that's in my local market here that found me on YouTube or something, and he's at Keller Williams, and the model, it is the model. Like every agent should be at EXP, and there are other models that are similar. So it is the only way to grow a real estate company going forward. Every other sort of traditional brick and mortar franchise will be out of business over time, or they'll have to morph into, which is going to be impossible because they're franchises, you know, and so this is the model, you know. I'm 100% confident on that. In terms of growth, Um, I think we've got some tougher times, at least in the US. The US is a complete crap show. If you guys, I don't know where you guys live, but if you're not in the US and you're hearing about what's going on in the US, I can only imagine what you're thinking. Um, and I think no matter politics aside, I think the US, and I think there's going to be a global recession of sorts. Every country seems to be kicking down the road, you know. So I think there's a couple, 3 years at some point in the next 3 to 5 years where real estate is really challenged. And, you know, we've inflated our prices here like crazy in my market. You know, my home is almost worth double what I paid for it in December 2017.
Wow.
You know, so a seven figure home, low seven figures, has doubled in value in the last 7 years. You know,
Wow.
which is not sustainable. You know, so that aside, I'm excited now to see agents in my organization that just make a decision to do agent attraction actually go out and do agent attraction. And they have no business doing it, right? They don't have a platform, they don't have a YouTube channel, they have no social media presence. They're just doing deals with other agents and having honest conversations. So that's what I'm most excited about and bullish about, is that this is the right model and they're all coming. Like I really do believe, even if other people go to a Real or they go to a Fathom, those are two big ones in the US, they'll come back because EXP has the main, like all of the massive producers are at EXP. Our leadership, I know our leadership team, you know, really well, and these guys are not messing around. Like Glenn
Right.
isn't messing around anymore. I mean, he's bringing in, you know, Michael and Leo and the teams that they're building, and the amount of work those guys are willing to do at the ground floor in the dirt with agents makes me really excited for the future of EXP. So I don't know what the numbers will be. I don't know if we'll hit some of the numbers that, you know, are being put out there. But the model, once an agent sees the compensation model around agent attraction, most won't. So that's kind of the good news. Most agents won't do anything with the model, but those that do, and they just stick with it long enough to get uncomfortable and get the nerves out and get over themselves, you know, from an ego perspective and all of that. That's what I'm most excited about for the future. Because I've got guys that are growing, you know, I've got a guy that's been in for 18 months and he's at 360 agents.
Awesome.
You know? Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know if that's a great answer, but that's my answer.
No, it's a good
the model
answer.
takes care of it all.
I mean, that's a good answer. Let me end cap with this. And you brought up some competitors, right? And you said that we have really challenging times ahead of us. And I think that, and you said it best, you said everybody's going to end up coming back. And I think when you look at our operating numbers and you look at those other competitors and what they're spending to try to keep up with us, and Glenn Sanford wrote a post on Facebook and Instagram here just a few weeks ago. He broke it down. He said, I've done the math, and you've got to be at a run rate burning like hundreds of millions of dollars just to try to catch us, not compete, right? And you said it best. And the leadership is really, and especially Leo, right? And I've spent a lot of time with them when we were in Lisbon at EXPCon International. And that event was transformative, not just for me, but everybody that was there felt that. Eduardo came all the way from Guadalajara, Mexico to be there, and he felt the same, right? So, and that shows from the leadership. I'm more excited today, and I can tell that you are as well, Lars, than the day we got started, right? And that the opportunity is bigger today than when we got started, right? And the growth is going to come internationally. That's where the big growth is going to come from, right? And so that's what wakes me up every day. So Lars, thank you so much for doing this interview with us today. I've been wanting to do this interview for a couple of years. I'm glad that I finally reached out to you. We got it on the schedule. We had to book it out several weeks because Lars is super busy. And so thanks again, Lars, for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I hope you found value in today's legendary interview with our special guest. If you'd like to see more interviews just like this one, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you'd like to learn more about today's guest, I placed all their contact information in the description below. Who knows? Maybe they are the mentor you've been looking for. And if you're looking to make a change who you are partnered with in real estate, feel free to book a no-pressure private Zoom call with me. During this private call, I'll share with you how we help real estate agents leverage their language skills and cultural connections to close more transactions both locally and internationally using cutting-edge lead generation technology and marketing techniques. If you want to find yourself in a different situation in 90 days or in a year from now, it's important to find the right partners that can mentor you, have the right strategies, and are willing to give you the roadmap without asking for an additional cut of your commission. With the unique eXp Realty model, it's a collaboration, not competition mentality. The numbers don't lie either. So if you're curious, reach out and set up an appointment. I look forward to meeting you. Feel free to check out the other videos I have here on the channel about eXp Realty too, in case you're just curious. Otherwise, drop your questions or suggestions for upcoming guests in the comments below. Once again, I'm Jason P. Jordan, your go-to global real estate coach with the Legends International team, brokered by eXp Realty. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.